Senator Tuberville. And before I do that, let me commend both Senator Tuberville and Senator Kelly for their patience, persistence, and determination as they come at the first of the meeting and they leave at the end of the meeting for obvious reasons. So thank you very much. Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. New on the job, but I'm glad to be here. Military brat. Dad died on active duty, and I'm going to do my due diligence on this committee. But I want to thank both of you for your service. You know, I grew up in team sports, and you know a lot about the other teams when you're playing, and we've talked about Korea and Russia and China, and we've got national security, and we should know all that. I've had buddies that's died in the military. I just barely missed the Vietnam War. But we have to take care of ourselves here. If we don't have a military here that's organized, well-trained, well-funded, we're going to be in trouble. Over the years, I've seen political correctness take over. I've talked to generals and say, Coach, we spend more money on gender equity than we do coverings for $35, $40 million airplanes. We got to have our priorities right. This country that pays the taxpayers money, that pays the money for our military, needs not just a military because we're in trouble. We need a killing machine. We need people that are well-trained, that's going to attack, that when we're attacked or if we have to do something to defend other people, we can count on it. We need to get out of this political correctness stuff, the climate change. We just had a Secretary of Defense said we need to look at domestic terrorism within our military. Well, and that's fine, but we need a military that will fight. I just want to know, just both of you, that's the only question I got. What do you think about the direction that we're going in terms of what we're doing here? Of what we're doing, not what everybody else is doing, but what we're doing to make that killing machine prepared, ready to fight. Dr. Wright?
Why do you go first? Go ahead.
Senator, I feel pretty good. I think about where the U.S. military is at. I think much remains to be done, as was articulated in the NDS in 2018. But I think we need a pretty broad conception of national security if we're to compete in the next decade or two. And to me, that includes traditional threats and challenges, whether it's ISIS and China and Russia, but it does also include the transnational pieces, pandemics and climate change, because of the problems that they pose and the way in which they intersect with those traditional challenges. And I think it also is about perfecting our values at home as well. So I think you can do all of those. I don't see that, I guess we might disagree a bit here, as sort of political correctness. I think much remains to be done on that, but I think that will make the military and the United States stronger over time.
Well, thanks, Senator. What I'd just like to say is, hey, the military is not perfect. Even though we have a small professional force, we reflect all the maladies in our society. But one of the things I loved about our serving in our Army is you see new soldiers come in from all different backgrounds. They bring all kinds of prejudices and biases with them. But then in the crucible of tough, challenging training where they're relying on each other, you see that melt away and they become cohesive teams that rely on each other, that are bound together by affection and mutual trust and respect for one another. That's where real combat power comes from. And that's why I think it's extremely important that we cultivate and maintain in our military that we don't judge anybody, by skin color or religion or sexual orientation or any category. It's what you bring to the fight. And when you're in a fight and there are bullets coming in your direction, nobody's checking skin color. I mean, you're fighting together as a team. And I think we could learn from that in our society, and we have to guard that kind of a environment where military units take on those characteristics of a family. I think there is a fundamental choice, and I think it's going to be our leaders who understand how to do that, by either getting mired down into this interaction between racism and white supremacy, whatever you want to call it, all forms of bigotry and prejudice, and identity politics and critical race theories, whatever you want to call that emphasizes micro-identities at the expense of who we are as Americans and who we are as human beings. You can either get stuck down into that, or you can transcend it. And I think that we're better off transcending it, not to paper over any problems, but to ensure that we understand who we are as a people, but in a military unit, who you are as soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and how you rely on each other, and don't categorize each other, because you all have a role that's much bigger than yourselves. So I hope that we can continue to insulate our military from some of these maladies we see in our society, but we're not going to be able to do that perfectly. Our leaders, our commanders at each level are going to be the ones who are best positioned to do that.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Dr. Wright. You're exactly right. We have to have a team, and I'm afraid we're getting away from it. We need to take politics out of it and build a team that's going to defend this country, because it gets more dangerous, as we know, every day. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.